Look, I think, we often hear that, oh, I go with my gut feeling, and your gut feeling tells you very quickly whether this person is right. But the piece that you're missing when you go with your gut feeling as quickly as that is that, as Adam is saying, if you step back from it a little bit and you get to actually have a conversation with this person. So of course you want to gather all of the kind of core information about the candidate, but that's where I think AI can really help. And we know that recruitment, like I think HR professionals generally, we think we're most comfortable with the use of AI around the recruitment process, because there's a lot of initial information, obviously, that we can actually use AI to help us with. But where AI can't kind of be as effective is in that relationship bit. Who's this person in front of me, whether it's on the screen or in person? And if you can step back and actually allow the conversation to develop for you to get to understand who this person is, what are their motivators, what are their ambitions, then you get an insight into really rich information about the potential of this person. Because while we're hiring for an opening that we have right now, potentially, we need to see that, is there a journey ahead with this particular candidate? Could we see a future in our organization for this person? And I think, for obviously the HR audience today, very often the HR role in an interview process is to cover off key specific areas, and the hiring manager will probably cover off, more technical specific areas, whatever that role is, whether it's medical or technical or services or whatever. But I think it is getting to know the person.
Yeah.
And the other side of that, I think, as well, is you're looking for somebody who's curious. A candidate who comes to a job interview, again, whether it's on the screen or in person, and has done a bit of research. So I think the thing we're finding now about online screening and online interviews is it's very easy for you to hop on an interview. You don't even have to take a half day anymore. You don't have to come into the office in a suit, all those things.
You're on your mobile.
Yeah. So in fact, people even sit in their car and put on a background and you don't even know where they are. So interviewing for the candidate has become much easier to do. And as a result, I think there's lots of candidates potentially applying for jobs that they're not necessarily committed to or really passionate about. Yeah. And so for the interviewer, that's a real challenge. We see it a lot. Candidates coming through a process, and when you're getting down to that final selection, that's not the time that you want to discover that the person is really not committed to the process, or really not committed to moving or to the career. So I think screening for some of those things early on are important.
I would agree.
Because you're investing a lot of time in this whole, process of interviewing. And of course, interviewing is one-dimensional anyway, but you are investing in the process.
Yeah.
We recruited quite a few people recently, and exactly as Frederica said, the application process itself, they had to spend time on it. And what we did was we basically, everyone who applied for the job, we got them to answer 3 or 4 questions. If they didn't answer 3 or 4 questions, they were excluded.
Not interested, yeah.
The next step that we did with them was we asked them, once they did that, we then sent them out a requirement that they needed to video themselves. And they need to video themselves answering these 5 questions. Okay. Again, and I'll give you an example. We hired, I think it was about 6 graduates. We initially got, I think it was 300 applications. Of that 300 applications, I think it was about 200 of them actually answered the questions and actually had an option of putting up a cover letter. So if they didn't put up a cover letter, we felt that they weren't interested enough. Because there's loads of people out there looking for jobs and blah, blah, blah. And there's loads of people out there with jobs, etc. But when it got down to the actual video, of the 150, we'll say, I think it was about that, who replied initially, and we requested them to do a video, only 34 of them actually bothered recording the video. So there's an element of, if you want to call it AI, that's one thing. I'd like to call it natural selection, is another way of putting it, where they're naturally selecting themselves into the company. And when you get to that situation, they feel they know enough about the company. And when they actually come to a face-to-face interview, then they're prepared, or they're better prepared than they would be than just sending in a CV and then just calling them for interview. If you understand me. So I think, again, the job analysis preparation, the candidate's preparation for the actual selection process are two ways of ruling people in and out. And then you get down to, okay, well, they should know now because they've been through this process. So they should know the behaviors or the principles that we operate to. They should know what the role is about. They should know exactly how much we're paying, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you get a lot of that stuff out of the way. And the richness of the interview then that you have in the final selection of maybe, like when we as I said, we got down to about 30 people. We actually hired 5 out of the 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good ratio.
Out of the 300, really, to be honest.
Yeah, when you think about it,
Yeah.
But I think, Adam, I think you're absolutely right. You know, going back to the beginning of the whole process, and where does the selection piece start? You know, it is actually that, you know, really, really a deep understanding of the role.